Cat actually stopped Eva from leaving and told her that she can't be mad at anyone right now and actually asked Eva to stay. The only thing I could think while this was happening was that, wow, hell really froze over on this show. What is up, everybody? Hello, fellow Beyond the Gates viewers. I am recording from another room today, so apologies if there is an echo, but I still wanted to give a review on today's episode, even though it was kind of overall low-key, kind of a typical 2026 episode of Beyond the Gates. It definitely had its moments. Of course, first of all, we learned the good news about Anita yesterday, and Nicole and Dani were still with Anita and Vernon today when Martin arrived to also hear about the good news that the chemo is working and Anita's tumor is shrinking. And the kids and Martin also thanked Vernon for taking such good care of Anita, and they wanted Martin to tell Cat the good news later. I did like the moment between Dani and Vernon later in the episode. We've always seen that Dani is a daddy's girl. She and Vernon have had a close relationship, and she thanked Vernon for taking care of himself while he is taking care of Anita, because this has obviously been very stressful for him as well. Chelsea also later arrived, having heard the good news, and wanted to see her grandma. Chelsea started this episode with Naomi. I guess they were still together after yesterday's episode. Today it seems they were doing some shopping. At first, they were talking about how Dani still seems to be smitten with Andre, and they were remarking on how good of a husband Andre has been to Dani. It's good to see Andre getting some credit for being a good husband, especially with Dani's kids. Chelsea also brought up the cancer gene and how it's probably hard for Dani to deal with that and all of this. As we know, Naomi also has the cancer gene. It is the secret she continues to keep from everyone. Meanwhile, at the country club, Ted ended up running into Eva. Ted originally did not want to stay and chat with Eva too long because Dana, aka Leslie, was coming, and Ted wanted no part of that. Good to see Ted slowly learning how to stay away from Leslie. That actually is good to see. Ted ended up meeting with Andre. Dani called Andre during the meeting to tell him the good news about Anita's chemotherapy working and the tumor shrinking. He told Ted the good news, who he was meeting with. Ted is happy for Nicole, saying that Nicole must be dancing right now. I guess I should mention, when Eva and Ted did have their little conversation, they did talk about Shanice and how they seem to be on the right track, but Eva bringing up that Nicole is in Shanice's face every day at work, and it's probably a reminder about Ted and Nicole's relationship. And in conversation with Andre, Ted still feels some kind of way about the awkward conversation he and Shanice had the other day, when Shanice thought that he said, "I love you," and he didn't say that, and he had to tell her the truth that he didn't say that. But Ted is also hoping that he's not giving Shanice these false expectations and is trying not to waste her time. Andre did ask the question, who or what is holding Ted up? And I think the answer was obvious for both of them. It is a Nicole thing. Andre talked about how he and Dani were held up early in their situationship because Andre wanted all of her or nothing. But now Andre is saying that he made a statement that I didn't love. He said that he shouldn't care if Bill has 10% of Dani's heart because he has the other 90%. And to me, that is kind of the simping ways of Andre that we have seen a lot in this marriage with Dani lately. That was definitely a simp statement. Although I kind of get what he's saying. But I think the obsession that Dani and Bill tend to have with each other can be more than 10%. especially after something that happened in this episode. Ted was saying that unlike Dani, who had a bad spouse in Bill, it was actually nice to see Ted throw shade at Bill because the family loves to shade Ted, even though Bill has been a far worse husband to Dani. But Ted said that unlike Dani, who had a bad spouse, Ted ruined his perfect spouse. And Andre tried to tell Ted that Nicole has closed that door and he should try and have something else instead of pining after something he will never have again. Andre had some good words for Ted here, which I did agree with. Let's see, who to talk about next, because some things kind of collided with each other today. I mean, I will say that I did not pay attention to the early scenes between Tamas and Cat. There are just some couples on this show that do not work for me. I've talked about how I don't want to watch trash and grandpa gangster scenes anymore because they're so repetitive. I feel the exact same way about Tamas and Cat. I know they talked about Lynette a little bit and how Bill kind of wants Tamas to look into it more. And Kat did mention how she wants to track down that Wesley Sledgehammer guy that was accused of the mugging, but then said that Bill's PI should look into him. Then I stopped paying attention until Tamas had the surprise party for Kat, which we'll talk about in a second. Hayley started this episode in Bill's office going over that last text from Lynette. She is still stressed out about that Lynette situation. When Bill told Hayley that he was having a sit down with Naomi today, Hayley had a flashback to when Naomi finally brought up the fact that Hayley never had that sonogram. It was very random the other day when Naomi finally brought that back up, but I guess all of the stopping in these storylines decided to start again. As I mentioned yesterday, a lot of these stories on this show, they love to stop and then start instead of actually having a cohesive flow sometimes. This is one of those examples because Naomi really brought up that sonogram again out of the blue, and there's been no reason, in my opinion, for Naomi to keep this information from other people in her life. I mean, I guess maybe keeping it away from Bill is one thing, but even that is kind of a leap for me. But after that flashback, Hayley told Bill that she had a confession for him. Hayley said she's been thinking about Lynette and about if Lynette has actually been playing her after all, and told Bill this. Hayley said that she realizes that Lynette has just been asking for more and maybe really has been playing her the whole time, and Bill was just so understanding. I loved the line from Bill when he said anyone can get played, but he's glad that she has a big heart. Bill saying that statement when he's been getting played the most on this entire show with Hayley. Hayley has been playing Bill like a fiddle, Bill and his lack of brain cells for so many months now. That's when Naomi came in for the meeting, and Hayley made sure to tell Naomi that it seems like Lynette actually does have red flags after all, and apologizes for some things, but then said that she knows that she should be saying this to Tamas and apologizing to Tamas. Then Hayley agreed to join Bill and Naomi for their little lunch get-together where they kind of went over Madison's case that Naomi and Bill are supposed to be working on together. That's when Dani called to tell Bill the good news. Well, really wanted to tell Naomi. She couldn't get a hold of Naomi. She found out that Naomi was having lunch with Bill, so she called Bill's phone. She told Naomi the good news. Bill got the phone back, told Dani to tell Anita that he is glad that they will be able to squabble for years to come. The highlight of the episode for me was when Bill called Dani baby while on the phone with her before saying goodbye. Didn't even realize he said it. Naomi and Hayley clearly did. Leslie, who was there being nosy after meeting with Eva, also overheard this and saw that Hayley was clearly annoyed after Bill called Dani baby. That did make me chuckle. That was a funny scene. Like I said, though, Leslie was there at the country club with Eva and was being nosy. At one point, she told Eva that Naomi is slumming it when she walked into the country club with Bill and Hayley. And Eva tried to tell Leslie that she shouldn't have FOMO for people that she doesn't even like when it comes to Bill, when Leslie just couldn't stop looking at them. Eva also talked to Leslie about Darlene. She said that she knows she's not going to be able to get her mother to back off Darlene, but she said that her and Isaiah are going to just pay their mothers no mind and get on with their lives, which is a way a relationship should be between younger people when their parents are being a little too overbearing. So good for Eva there. Now, do I believe that Eva's going to be able to do that with Leslie? No. But, I have some hope. Eva ended up at Kat's surprise party that Tamas threw for her, where Chelsea and Naomi and Martin arrived. Kat was, of course, pissy to see Eva there because Eva also arrived at her birthday last year, and Kat didn't think it was a coincidence, even though it was. I was aggravated that we were going to have to see this rivalry that has become so redundant. But before Eva left, she was going to leave in a huff. But before she left, she turned around and said she's glad that Kat got good news today about her grandma because she's been praying for Anita this whole time. However, nobody had told Kat left because in the Duprees family, Kat tends to be last to know. Martin was supposed to tell Kat. I guess Martin was waiting for it to be a surprise. But Kat did receive this good news very well when Martin told Kat about Anita's chemo working. And because that made Kat feel good, Kat actually stopped Eva from leaving and told her that she can't be mad at anyone right now and actually asked Eva to stay. The only thing I could think while this was happening was that, wow, hell really froze over on this show. Kat is actually trying to make progress with Eva. Now, of course, there was still some shots later in the episode. Eva also got very emotional when Kat asked her to stay. I think that was some great acting there. Now, I have read some spoilers for later in this week. That makes me think that this is just not going to actually be their rivalry getting mended. I think there's more problems for them to come, and we will still have to watch that redundantness. But it was a nice change of pace because the usual squabbles have gotten old. Leslie approached Hayley at the end of the episode. Hayley never called out Bill about him calling Dani baby on the phone, but Leslie called out Hayley about overhearing that. When Hayley is always saying that there's no problems in her marriage, Leslie brought up that. Leslie remarked on how Hayley's aura is sad. I've always enjoyed Leslie and Hayley scenes. We only get them like once every 3 or 4 months. And Leslie has always tried to befriend Hayley, and Hayley has always pushed it away. Leslie can still be entertaining with several characters. It's just that she could also be annoying with several characters. But the biggest thing is that they just need to give Leslie a reason for being annoying with so many people. They need to just give her motivation again. I've been saying this for months. It's the biggest thing that Leslie needs. She came on the show with great motivation, but now she has none, and now she's just an annoying character. But she still works with some characters. Anyway, Hayley, I still think, didn't really pay any mind to Leslie today. But Leslie tried to tell Hayley that Bill's heart is with Dani, and it always will be. Speaking of Dani, the last thing in my notes is that when Andre went to see her, when Andre arrived home, Dani was crying because she realizes that it could have gone either way with Anita's cancer, and she was so scared for Anita. And so even though it's a big relief, she is obviously very emotional about it. I thought it was great acting by Carla Mosley in that scene. All of the cancer stuff has had some great acting. We've had some really emotional reactions to it all. I'm glad we've gotten over the hump of the most depressing parts of that story, though, and can move in a new direction. That was today's episode overall. Bill calling Dani baby was the highlight for me. But, seeing hell freeze over between Eva and Kat was actually okay. I mean, Kat stands are out there pissed about it. I mean, I kind of get it because Kat gets bad writing. Like, that's why I can't even watch the Kat and Tamas scenes anymore. Kat is a character that really deserves a good story. I really do hope at some point Kat gets a good story. But I'm glad that for once Kat was able to soften towards Eva because it was needed, because it's old, it's stale watching them always go at it.